Being able to get into a crow pose is already super cool, but with a little bit of practice and learning the right techniques, you can progress this into a single leg crow, which is way cooler and also way more transferable to the handstand if you choose to follow that path later on. Hi, I'm Mazen. I'm a handstand and inversion coach for adults, and in this video I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about single leg crow, from the best knee position on the elbows to the best and easiest entries into the pose for beginners, as well as how to practice every step of the way to unlock your single leg crow. So let's get into it. Before we talk about the knee position for the single leg crow, I have to say that you do not need to have an amazing crow before you start thinking about or working towards your single leg crow. In fact, once you know the technique, I know a lot of people who find the single leg crow more comfortable than the regular crow. However, that being said, you do need to be able to balance a few seconds of crow, even if it's this version here. And if you're not ready for that yet, please still watch this video so you get the big picture and the end goal in mind, but don't apply it before you go to my other in-depth crow tutorial for beginners. Now that this is out of the way, let's talk about the best knee position for the single leg crow. You might have learned your crow with the knees on the outside of the arms and the arms on the inside of the thighs, and your crow looks like this, as opposed to the more elevated crow that is like this. You also may have learned crow with this part of the knee rather than the part closer on top, on the tricep like this, and this looks a little bit with the butt higher up, but the toes look a little bit lower than when they do when you're in this position. All of these are great. In fact, the one that I just showed here has kind of an advantage. If you put the toes together, then you get like an X, and it's a slightly more comfortable grip at first. And then there's the location on the arm. Some people have it more closer to the elbow like this, regardless if you're doing this version or this version here. And some people have it in the middle or close to the armpits like this. Also, these are very good for crow, not for single leg crow. We'll get into that in a bit. But finally, before I get into single leg crow, you may have learned crow also with the knee on the forearm. I actually like this a lot. I don't see it a lot on social media, but I love this for crow. The knees on the forearm. Here you squeeze the knees towards the arms for the friction, and you get a nice stretch in your spine. You activate the hip flexors. You get to activate the shoulders, pulling them down. It's amazing, and I use it a lot in my coaching to get people to feel the tipping over, some people who don't connect with the other versions. However, for single leg crow, especially if you want to progress it to handstand later on, the easiest and the version that makes most sense is the knees on the back of the elbows and high up like this. Now, why is this the easiest? Just like, let's try this one. You can still do a single leg crow, but it starts to slip. It's a little bit tricky. If you do that one, then single leg crow is quite difficult. It's a little bit awkward because you're already so rounded. This version is pretty high. This one, it can kind of work, but it gets too heavy because you no longer have that squeeze of the thigh fighting against the pulling out of the elbows to create that stability. So if you've already learned the other versions of crow, that's totally cool. If you want to learn this one, and that's why I said some people find single leg crow easier, is because this version is tricky to get into. Once you're into it, it's easy to hold, but to get into it, it feels like you're going to break your elbows. So we're going to use a different technique to feel it, and then we'll talk about how to get into it. Okay, so I had to cut the camera to bring in this pillow, which was over there. I'm using this pillow. You can use a mat as well, or a folded up jacket or t-shirt, just a comfortable surface to put on the head. And you're going to put the head down, top first. Probably this is bothering the microphone, hopefully not. And then you're gonna put the arms a bit back. And I want you to video yourself here because a lot of people think they're doing this, but then in reality, they're putting the arms here. That's not the right way. You wanna put the arms in the shape of a triangle with the head. I'll just move the microphone just in case. Let's put it a bit here. Okay, so you put the head here and the arms over there. You push down, you stand up, and then you try to climb over there. You push with your hands, you climb, and see if you can raise a leg and raise the other leg. Now, whenever I give this to some clients, a lot of times they feel like, oh, I'm so good at this. They want to show off, and they just do this and say, oh, look, I'm so strong. That is really cool if you can do that, but that is not the point here. The point is to find the pressure. So if you want to show yourself that you're very strong, instead of doing this, maybe try climbing the leg, and then pushing up from there. So that is a much more relevant movement. Once you feel the leg here, I want you to note something. Another common issue is people have the leg not fully closed. So if it's not fully closed, the knee will be a bit pointier and it'll bother you a bit. So try not to do something like this. Instead, you want it like this, so it feels the right connection. And yeah, it might bother the skin a little bit here, but if you're doing it more so on the bone than on the belly of the muscle, it might actually start to feel better once the skin hardens and adapts. Now that we have this kind of sensation out of the way, we want to feel how to get into the actual single leg row. And although in this video I've been showing it by like floating into the crow and then raising one leg, that's actually not the easiest way to do it for most people. The easiest way to do it, and also the reason why at the beginning I said that some people find single leg row easier than crow, is this approach. You kind of want to take a running person position and put your hands down, bend the elbows, and I'm bending the elbows kind of like this, not like this. Maybe a little bit like this, but not a lot. So bend the elbows, running person position, put your weight on the back leg so that you can put your knee where it should be and bend so you get that platform on the elbows. Now here, just like we climbed on the pillow, you want to transfer the weight from the back leg to the front leg so that the back leg is light, and you go like this. So from here, transfer, and the back leg lifts. You can go up, but we're not going to do that yet. In fact, before you start getting up to the full thing, some people can immediately, but I recommend the single leg row toe hovers, which means start playing with having that back toe very light on the wall, kind of flirting on the floor, kind of flirting with the floor. So weight on the back leg, shift to the knee, and now look, see the toe? It's very light. It's very light. Hold that for a while and build strength in that position. Now, once you build strength in that position, I want you to keep that back leg very straight and swing it up like this. Don't do this because this will mess up the balance. Instead, keep it straight and swing it all the way back, locked and tense. Now, some of you may watch this video and be like, oh, this seems easy enough. You go, you try it, it's not easy. Oh no, what am I doing wrong? Here are the two main things I see. One is the back leg is too far away. So if you're here, no matter what happens, it's not going to work. Notice what happens. As I shift forward, that back leg starts to go forward, and then it's ready to go up. Kind of like isosceles triangle. The closer the angles are, the taller the triangle. You want to get the hips high by bringing the leg closer to form that triangle. See what I'm doing? Flat, hips are very low. Close, hips are higher, and I come up. The second most common thing, unfortunately, is incorrect perception of how long it takes to adapt, either for the skin to harden, to feel comfortable, or for the toe holds to feel stable. So if you are getting the right distance when you video yourself and check it, see how stable is it to have this position with the toe light on the ground. If about 5 to 10 seconds knocks the wind out of you, that's awesome. Keep practicing this until 20 seconds are easy. Then you know you have the strength, you have the stability, feeling that the wrist, elbow, shoulder, chest, chest, shoulder, elbow, wrist is one solid inverted U that will support you to carry your entire body weight. Now, very important, if you give this a fair shot, you did 20 seconds on the toe holds, you tried everything we talked about, and you're trying this entry and it's still not clicking, here is where you actually want to go back and try the crow to single leg crow entry. I know I said that for most people this is harder, but there are a few people where if you did all of this work and you go back to this pose, to this version, it clicks better, and then you try this again, and then in the long run you feel that the running person entry is easier, but you kind of need to practice both for it to click. So I don't like extremism when it comes to methodology. Keep trying both, but give both a fair shot at this.